Hello, it's Dawn Michelle and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to do a probably fairly quick mod with me where I am just going to basically de-gild my Oracle of the Roses. So this is a, I think, fairly new mass market deck out from Rockpool. And it's a great little Oracle deck. I really love it. I love the backs are beautiful and I really like the artwork. And the thing that I really like the most about this is that the cards have kind of like archetypes on them rather than just sort of traditional Oracle keywords, which means I get to use this deck in a little bit different way than I do my other floral or botanical decks that I have. So it's really cool. I really enjoy it. I do not, however, enjoy this shiny gold gilding. Now, like, on camera, like, it looks beautiful, but the thing is my copy, I don't know if it's just my copy or what, but like, it literally has a sharp edge. I can feel it right there. It catches on my fingers every time I shuffle it. And it's also kind of peeling back, and I don't know if you'll be able to tell, but every time I shuffle it and it catches on my finger, it's peeling back the laminate on the cards. So that's not like a fantastic thing to have happen to your deck. I do really like the cardstock. It's actually quite nice. It's kind of this satiny kind of matte, I guess you would call it. So anyway, like, long story short, I'm just going to de-gild the thing. And this is going to be a great deck to do that with because there is lots of, let's say, empty space, right? Lots of white space around the imagery, and the backs are solid. So I can very easily take off just enough to kind of slice off the gilding on this deck, and it's not going to affect the back or the front at all. It's just going to remove the red shiny gilding. I'm really not a fan of shiny gilding anyway, and I'm actually going to edge this deck, I think, in green because I feel like it would just be really pretty. Like, the reds are kind of like the floral backs, like the petals of a flower, right? And then I'm gonna edge it in green, and then we've got this parchment colored front, which I think is gonna be really cool. So this isn't going to be like a proper tutorial. I'm just going to kind of take you along here and there as I mod this deck. If you would like to see how I go about the process of modding a deck in detail, I do have a deck mod tutorial where I show how I go about the process of trimming and edging my deck. So I'll be sure to leave links for those in the description box below for you. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so I pretty much always put down this little shelf liner. It's just kind of a rubbery thing. I use these for everything. I bought a big roll of it, and it's under all of my mats. It's under things that sit on my desk. In particular, this desk, because it's very slippy. So I have all my usual tools here. Again, if you want to see a proper tutorial, there's a link for that in the description box below. I have my triangle ruler, which I used to create a little cradle, and some washi tape, which is still all over it from the last deck I trimmed. And that's totally cool. I can usually reuse them once or twice. And then I also have my Katamara Pro corner rounder for when I'm done. Again, I'm just gonna skip us through the process just so you can kind of see how it goes. This will be a really easy mod because I'm just gonna take off enough just to get rid of that gilding. I'm not really trying to make this deck any smaller or anything. I just want the gilding gone. And I think it'll look really cool in that sort of flat matte green that I'm going to edge it in. So what are we going to start with? I mean, usually I start with whatever like the most challenging card will be, but this deck is really evenly printed, so I think it's going to be fine, and I'm just taking a sliver off of each of the sides. So I'm not trying to do anything crazy here. I just want to get the gilding off. So let's just start on this side, and really all I'm going to do, simple, quick and easy. I'm just gonna put the card in and scoot it over enough to, again, just trim that gilding off. I do like to, you know, use my measurements here, my lines on my board when I can. That's always helpful because it does help me get a nice straight trim. The straighter you get your trim, the better your deck will shuffle, because it is that, you know, those rough edges, those uneven edges that catch on your finger when you try to ruffle. Not so much of a big deal if you overhand, but for a riffle shuffler, that's a big deal. Okay, so I'm gonna check that. And that looks like it's lined up pretty straight. I always wanna make sure that my triangle ruler is straight too, because again, as straight as I can get everything else means that this is gonna come out as a nice, straight, even trim. So the thing I'm doing now is I'm moving this tape over because I can't actually see my line. And I do feel like my triangle ruler is not lined up properly. Sorry, I'm real close to the camera. Okay. So that feels straighter, that feels better. Also, these cards do have a little bit of a kind of bow this way. It's very, very slight, but what that means is that these corners, as you can see, it's gonna pop up on my board. So I definitely want to be holding those down to make sure that I'm getting everything nice and flat. Again, flatten it all out, and then I'm just gonna snip that gilding off. And there we go. So nice straight card edge, and there's that gilding completely gone. So I'm basically just gonna slip all these in here and do the same thing. Clip them all off really quick, and then I'll flip it around, remeasure, and do it again. Okay, so I got all of the right side of the deck taken off. And it looks like I got one card in there that really slipped on me. So it's pretty straight, but it's not as straight as it could be. That will get fixed when I flip it around and I'm a little bit more careful going the other way. Here's all the slivers that I cut off. And part of the problem is this washi needs to go. So I need to add some new washi to it because it's just not holding the way I really want it to. So let's grab a few more pieces of washi, and we're gonna just basically repeat this process and do the same thing. Also, if I had some better washi would probably be good, but I don't want to waste my good washi on this. So flip the deck around, repeat the process, and just, again, trim off that little bit of gilding. I'm trying to see where I want to go this time. I mean, I do kind of want to be mindful to keep the title in the middle of the card as best I can. So again, I can use the marks on my board to help me line all that stuff up. Now, hopefully it will stay in place this time and my triangle ruler won't shift around, so I will be able to cut this one a little bit straighter. And how did I do? Yeah, that doesn't look too bad. And I'm gonna check and just make sure that these are fairly even. I mean, it's probably shifted slightly more to the left, but that could just be a card by card thing too, and it's super not noticeable. It's only because I'm like actually looking and nitpicking at this point, right? Because I'm cutting into it. Okay, so there's that one. Again, just gonna pop my cards in, repeat the process, make sure I keep everything going the same way, because I always want to make sure that I'm cutting off the same side on every card. That's what gets it even. Okay, so now I've got that side cut off, and I just want to show you a trick really quick. Occasionally, as I'm coming down toward this side, sometimes the arm swings just slightly, and I can feel a little bit of a lip on that side of the deck. So before I undo this, what I'd like to do is kind of take my hand and run my finger across. I can see some of the cards that didn't quite get cut straight. I can kind of run my finger across it and pick out anything that feels like it's not maybe cut entirely straight. I think just those few cards, I just want to kind of just double check them just to make sure, because if I don't hold it down properly, it might shift a little bit. It's usually, yeah, right at this end. So I'm getting off just the tiniest little slivers. Ooh, or a ton on that one. Okay, that one was totally fine. See, yeah, much better. I mean, is it perfect? No. Do I care? No. It's good enough for me. All right, move all those. So now we're gonna take it and we're gonna flip it around the other way. I'm actually gonna do this side first because if I need to make any adjustments in order to make things straight, it's always best to make those adjustments on the side that you have the most playroom. So like if I decide that like I need to scoot in a little bit more on the top, then I can. So like I'm gonna cut this off first, and that gives me playroom on the top is really what I'm trying to get at. So now when it comes to this edge, so I wanna do right at the 5, because my trimmer is only 5 inches. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is use this to set right on this edge. Whoops. See, it's hard when you're down here at the edge of the board. This gets a little bit trickier. Okay, so I want to line that up right there on that 5 mark. And again, this is why I'm doing the text side first, so that I have playroom to straighten things up if this goes horribly wrong for me. I have playroom on the top to straighten it up. And this is where it gets a little bit wonky because like I gotta try to keep things straight. Hopefully that won't be in my way. And does it look straight? It looks as straight as I think I'm gonna get it. Straight enough. Okay, so now I should be able to slip these in here. And I generally don't like to have tape under my card, but like there's no way around it with this particular thing I got going on. But I'm gonna press it all down. And again, I felt that card move. You gotta watch these slippery cards. They slip on the board. But there we go, that side's off. Okay, so I'm gonna trim these all down. Try to be as careful as I can to get them as straight as I can. I'm also, every time I come in here, I'm pushing this down so that my card doesn't slip underneath it. And then I'm kind of just walking my fingers across and holding the card down. Okay, get all my little slivers out of the way, and now we are down to just the top. So basically, rinse and repeat. I think I'm gonna go right here. Just double check in, see if it's straight. Throw it in here, cut it off. And you can see I went a little bit more on the top just because it does make them a little bit smaller, and like that's always good for me. But the question is it straight? Is it straight? It looks like it is. So I'm good with that. We're just gonna go a little bit more off the top because now I kind of have to because I cut that one card. Probably a little shorter than I needed to, but it's all right. And this is why I do the sort of top area last in this case. Normally when I'm doing a deck, if I'm like maybe considering taking off titles, I do the title area last so I can always see what it looks like first. But in this case, I definitely need to keep the titles because they're kind of the whole point of the deck. Without the titles, it's just flowers and I don't know what they are. So, here we go. Okay, so all in all, pretty quick and easy process. I think that took me 20, maybe 25 minutes. I did kind of stop along the way to answer a few text messages from the kids. So I think overall it went pretty quickly. Let me clean up this mess. So real quick, I'm just gonna go ahead and round the corners, and I'm thinking, I love oracle decks with like big round corners. So I think I'm gonna round it with the big corner rounder. So you can see I haven't made it like that much smaller. Maybe if we go this way, it'd be better. Like it's just a little bit smaller. So I think that's gonna be fine, but I kinda wanna do the large. I really don't get the opportunity to use the large corner rounder very often because normally I'm rounding a tarot and it's usually too big. So I think I'm gonna go for it. I think we're just gonna do the large. Yeah, because it softens up the card, the like larger the rounder, the larger the corner. The rounder the corner, the larger the corner, whatever the proper way to say that is. It just softens it up. So like, I think that's really cool. I like the large one when I can get away with using it. So yeah, I'm gonna finish corner rounding these and then I'm gonna edge it. Okay, so I've got a piece of paper here, maybe something like this color. But I don't want it to conflict with this on the front. So I do kind of like that. It does almost always come out a little bit darker on the card, so I definitely want to keep that in mind. One of my favorites is this one. I absolutely love this one, but I don't think that's going to be the right color. I don't know, that's just feeling a bit more muted, and I need to keep in mind the backs too. I kind of like this color. This is like one of my favorite go-to colors. I'm thinking now that I'm seeing this with the red, I'm thinking that's like too yellowy, and it's gonna pull out more of a yellow color and look more gold than green, which is not something I want. Not that I have a problem with that because I edge in gold, yellow colors a lot, but I don't want that with this particular deck. I do have this kind of little odd, usually I use Tombos, but ooh, that one's really green. That feels like kind of Christmassy. What do we think? Let me put these two right next to each other. I actually think I kind of like the more green. I don't know what this is. Artist Loft Sage. 108 Sage. I kind of like that. I think I'm going to go with that. Because I definitely wanted green. For sure, I wanted green. But I don't want to get like too far away from something that's compatible with the artwork, you know what I mean? Okay, so I'm gonna take my little sliver and I'm just gonna run my marker across it, and I just wanna see like if it's gonna bleed, how it's gonna bleed. And it looks like it did bleed slightly, but it's okay. And it's definitely a bit darker than I see here. But I actually think that's gonna be really pretty. So let's just try one. We're in. You can see clearly I agonize about these decisions. I'm like, nope, let's do it, that looks good. Ooh, it's getting kind of Christmassy. But like it's, you know, it's a rose deck, and red roses with green stems just, you know, just seems right to me. I always run a paper towel along the edge just to get any bleed off that might happen. So yeah, it didn't bleed. It also didn't really color in those frayed edges, so like that's gonna be a thing to just keep in mind with this deck. Edging it usually does help a little bit if you don't like run your marker down the back of it, because it does, and I could do a little bit thicker rather than just one swipe, which actually now that I've done that, I think I will go around each card twice. Just to kind of darken it up a little bit. Sometimes the marker kind of acts like a nail file, and it'll sand it down a little bit and take a little bit of that roughness off. Oh yeah, that's gonna be pretty. Okay, I'm gonna finish corner rounding and edging this deck, and then we'll check back in and see how it looks. We're on to a different day, and I have finished up my modification of the Oracle of the Roses. So I threw it back in its box just to kind of let it hang out. And let's take a look at what I did. So I trimmed off the gilding essentially and ended up edging it in this beautiful green color just to, you know, add that sort of rose energy, right? We have like the red from the petals, the green from the stem, and then we have all the beautiful cards, which pretty much look exactly like they did before, just minus that gilding, and they are just a touch smaller, like just a touch. So let me show you here compared to the guidebook, because the guidebook was pretty much the size of the cards. Let me turn it around this way so you can see that I just took off the slightest amount. I did take off more off the top just to make them a little bit shorter. Well, I'll say that like that was the intention, but really it was kind of accidental. I just cut a little bit more than I really had intended, but that's okay because it actually worked out really well. And I think they look beautiful, and I love the green color. I mean, it's kind of Christmassy too, but also like, you know, roses. Roses have green stems, and I just think it works really well. This kind of seafoamy green color like we see on the box would have been really cool too, but I just think the green works really, really well. So I've let this sit overnight, which is because it's Tombow, it really doesn't need to sit, but I just have a tendency to finish up mods in the evening and then kind of throw them on my desk and let them dry and hang out. Let's give it a shuffle, see how it shuffles. I mean, it still shuffles pretty well. I wasn't quite as probably careful as I should have been, so my finger is catching a little bit here and there, but overall, like it's still pretty straight. Straight as humanly possible, I like to say. It doesn't really want to bridge back. I don't know if it actually bridged really well before. I can't remember. But I love it like this. I think it looks fantastic. This is such a beautiful deck. I really am looking forward to working with it now that the gilding has been removed and it's not like cutting my hands whenever I work with it. I don't know if I just had a bad copy or like what the case was. Some of the back is fraying a little bit on the lamination on the cards. Now, trimming and edging that did actually help a little bit, so hopefully that will keep the fraying to a minimum. And it's very possible that I just got a bad copy in terms of like production value of the deck. Maybe it doesn't come like that for everybody, but I actually really don't mind taking the time to trim it and edge it because I'm not a fan of shiny gilding in general, and I generally like to take it off my deck. So I'm totally cool with it being a little bit, you know, a little bit wonky when it got here, and that's fine because I was gonna trim it anyway. Again, just taking that gilding off because I think it looks so much prettier with the green. Like, I don't know, just something about that just completely makes me happy. So there we go, that's another mod done. Still fits in the box just fine. I mean, sure, it shakes around a little bit, but not much. As always, you'll find links for everything I've shown here in the description box below. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for another mod with me, and I look forward to sharing with you again soon.